Yo, 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 ladies and gents, what's going on? It's Friday night. Cheers. This is not an alcoholic beverage. I'm on day 27 at the moment of giving my body a break from booze. Trying to work out, like, as I made this, I was like, does it look like an ale? Or does it look like somebody who's just had an ale has then regurgitated? It looks like a camel has urinated into a pint glass or something. I promise you it is orange and lemonade, though. It's a sunny day. It's summer, right? It's an orange and lemonade day, I think. How are you guys doing? Are you all right? I hope you've all cracked open your bottles of wine, your craft ales, your IPAs, rolled yourselves a fat bifter ready for the next 45 minutes, maybe longer than an hour this week, depending on how we get into the Q&A and everything afterwards. I've been kind of thinking about like playing with the format of this show a little bit more. And last week I sort of stayed on after, having put the world to rights, as it were, over its many wrongs. And I had quite a good time just talking to people in the live chat. So I think we'll try that again tonight. I think we'll sort of, we'll go through the meat and the bones of the show. And then if there's anything that you would like to share or anything that you'd like to ask me afterwards, then, let's crack on. And then you can all run off to Politics Social thereafter, if you like, which starts at 9 o'clock on the @Politics Social channel, guys. Actually, before we get started, do tell people that you're here. If you have a chance, if you have an opportunity, because word of mouth, honestly, is the best way to get this thing, whatever this is, to grow. So yeah, pop a tweet out. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Say, hey, here's a thing done by a lonely guy who, mostly just drinks in his shed and tries to make himself laugh. I don't like it, but maybe you will. You seem like somebody who might be into that sort of mental illness. Tell your enemies as well as your friends. Who's in the live chat tonight? Should we have a quick look? Should we have a wee look? We got Richard Marsden in the house this evening. We've got LU2D Games. Not sure who that is. Haven't seen you in here before, but hello, you're very welcome. Pull up a pew at this imaginary bar that we're all frequenting. Mojo Sabian's in the house, one of the Patreons. What's up, Mojo? How you doing? Politics Social is in. Graham, how you doing, man? There you go. I've probably earned myself some brownie points now by promoting your channel. Didn't even see you in here. Mojo says, this is Sober Aid. You're right, but when you say it like that, it sounds like a charity event, doesn't it? Sober Aid 2024. Mojo Sabian says he's on Diet Coke this evening. No drinky tonight for Richard Marsden. Oh my God, we are in, like, this is the sober clan now, isn't it? It used to be a sort of boozy, beery, Friday night, anarchic, chaotic, satirical weekly, didn't it? Used to feel a bit punk rock in these here parts. Now it's like a group of sober, mostly men, let's be honest, who meet up and, try to convince each other that there's something worth sticking around for in the modern world, in the formerly Great Britain. Who else have we got in the house? We're a bit light on numbers. Oh, Jeff McGow. Jeff McGow or Jeff McGough? Don't know how to pronounce it, Jeff. Forgive me. Jeff's in the house. What's up, guys? If you are not on the Patreon yet, by the way, before we really get into this week's content, if you're not on the Patreon yet, it starts at like £3 a month, so it's dirt cheap, man. Truly, what are you waiting for? But also, if you are in a position, like, you don't want to add to your subscription services and all that, you don't want to commit to £3 a month or whatever, if you just want to say thanks, then I do accept tips in the tip cup, right? If you would be so good to drop a super thanks, is what Google and YouTube call it, a super thanks in the imaginary tip jar, That would be good. I always say, if somebody drops me £50 in there, a £50 super chat is unheard of on this channel. I can already tell that Graham is watching and listening to this. He's like, 50 quid? I mean, that's nothing on Politics Social. People drop bucks on Politics Social. But if somebody did drop a £50 note into the tip cup, if somebody dropped a £50 super thanks, here's my commitment to you. I will change my name on Twitter to @SuperThanksky. For 2 days, I will be @SuperThanksky. Right, anyway, let's get into this. Let's do it, shall we? What's been happening? What's been going on the last week since the last time we did the Friday night show? What's the happy haps, guys? We've had Huw Edwards, haven't we? That's been a big story this week. Huw Edwards has been dragging the BBC, kicking and screaming, back to its golden era of broadcast nonce-burgery, having survived the Jimmy Savile stuff by the skin of its teeth before. Now we are very much firmly back into a sex crime sinkhole of what exactly is going on at the moment. We've got the Strictly abuse scandal, which I've tried my best to just completely ignore. Anything to do with Strictly, I'm like, I've tuned out. I don't know. That comes below football on things that I bother to tune in for. But yeah, no, we've had the Strictly abuse scandal, and now we've had the Huw Edwards flavoured embarrassments. Everything is the BBC's fault, obviously. It's something to do with their culture there. It's endemic is another word that I've seen used to describe it. I'm led to believe that it never happens. Any sort of abuse or sexual predatory type of stuff, it never happens within the confines of the offices of The Sun or ITV or Channel 5 or The Telegraph. Although in Huw Edwards' case, that's probably because the average age of a Telegraph employee is 105. So yeah, what else has happened? What else has happened in paedophilia this week, people? Mr. Beast! God, Mr. Beast, the hugely popular, the most popular YouTuber in the world, I believe. He's got something like 100 million subscribers. It is insane. Mr. Beast has been accused of making racist and inappropriate comments to minors a few years ago. This stuff is starting to come out now. It's starting to surface. It's something along the lines of suggesting that he would have sex with a then 14-year-old rapper. So that's nice. That's good stuff, Mr. Beast. Universal rated, PG rated Mr. Beast, whose most salacious content is something along the lines of, I bought 1,000 toys and I gave them away. Even he now. Even Mr. Beast finds himself in the headlines that we go through on this show. I mean, I joke, don't I? I joke about the various signs that we're heading for the end of days, don't I? My nihilism, the fact you can't put your faith in anything anymore. But if you ever wanted a clearer sign that we are at the end of days, guys, like a bellwether to get you outside your house in the street in the rain, like with a sandwich board and you're ringing a bell, for the apocalypse. If you ever wanted a sign to give up on your hope, surely it's got to be the family-friendly wonder kid that is Mr. Beast, that he turns out to have joked about how little he would pay for a black slave. Yes, I'm not making this up. And on top of that, his enthusiasm for banging children. That is a clear sign to me of how little faith you should now place in the modern world. I mean, children's entertainer and optimism-wise, that is about enough to even bum Blippi out. That is enough to kill his spirit, is it not? That is such a sad turnaround to see Mr. Beast, these comments from a few years ago, surfacing. That would break Blippi's heart, telling him that, wouldn't it? You should whisper it to Mickey Mouse while you're at it. Well, hot dog! Hot dog, there's got to be some mistake, mister. I mean, look, here we are. We were joking about breaking Blippi's heart, but honestly, you know, even Blippi, right? The guy that plays Blippi, I don't know if you know this, right? He's a guy called Stephen John. And he's actually a former open mic comedian from a few years back, right? And he used to do, he never used to do like kids entertainment, you know, or like traveling clown that would entertain these kids or family friendly stuff. He used to be a gross out comedian back in the day with his YouTube and his stand up. Like there was some videos that came around where it was him like pretending to shit on people. It was wild for that guy to have turned into Blippi. But I guess, you know, we all have a past, right? We're all learning as we go. I think that's what we can glean from that. Huw Edwards' mural, though. Let's get back to Huw Edwards. Huw Edwards' mural has been torn down now. There's echoes of Jimmy Savile to this, isn't there? Do you remember like his old cottage that he lived in or something? It was a former home. People bothered to travel up there and set fire to it and burn it to the ground. People desecrated his gravestone. There's a lot of that sort of stuff. They took away his OBE and, right. Well, now Huw Edwards' mural has been torn down. It's quite a recent news story. This came out this afternoon. They tore down Huw Edwards' mural. I mean, I don't know who paints murals of news presenters like in the first place. Who does that? What sane and centered individual do you know, dear listeners, dear viewers, who would bother to paint a mural of a news presenter? I mean, I honestly think I would tear that thing down like before the scandal broke. I think I'd be that upset by it. No, paint over this shit. They'd be like, well, you don't like Charlie State? No, I'm fine with Charlie State. I'm fine with him. I just find this weirder than I like Charlie. Do you understand? I mean, like paint a mural by all means, right? Obviously, feel free to paint a mural. But paint it over the right kind of... But, like, paint a Tupac Shakur mural. Paint Gandhi. Paint Malcolm X, right? You're painting a mural of a BBC News presenter. Do you understand how insane that sounds? A BBC News... Well, I just really like the way that Fiona Bruce read that bulletin that time. Well, what was it? Was something significant to you? Was it something sacred? Did your mum die in a road accident and she read out the bulletin? It was like really moving and like well done or something. No, actually it was a burst water main on the A3. But I really liked her diction aid. Anyway, I wonder if anyone's burnt down the Mr. Beast murals yet. Does Mr. Beast have a mural? Should we burn down the Mr. Beast mural, guys? Maybe we have to wait a week or two for it to snowball, right? Like with the Huw Edwards thing. The Savile thing took a while to snowball. Also in the news this week, I don't know if you saw this, but I loved it. Loved this one, I did. It said, let me see if I can get the headline up actually quickly. Hold on. Where is it? I want to go here. I want to go there. Okay. I don't know if you saw this. This only popped up on my feed like this afternoon, right? But I saw the NBC version of it. It said, scientists explain the mystery of 3,000-year-old screaming mummy. And it's this, you know, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple or whatever afterwards, I've got a picture up. I mean, I don't know why I find it funny. It's there's just something so obvious about it. It's, you know, scientists explain the mystery of the 3,000-year-old screaming mummy. It's a preserved, mummified body, and the expression is like, ah! Right? Ah! It's visceral. It's, you know, you get it. You understand. There's catharsis in that. Everyone's had something resembling that sort of feeling, right? And it's this mystery. It's a mystery, guys. Scientists explain the mystery of 3,000-year-old screaming mummy. And I read this and I'm like, okay, just like this mummified body, right, is screaming, and then it's preserved for 3,000 years, and apparently for 3 millennia, right, people, philosophers, writers, religious leaders, and scientists have been unable to explain it until now. And it's quite surprising, right, guys, this mystery of this screaming woman. It's quite surprising what that mystery, like, they've solved it now. It turns out, right, you would not expect this. It turns out, right, it says scientists have revealed that the reason the 3,000-year-old woman appears to be screaming is because she died in agony. Oh my God! I don't believe it. No, that is a stretch too far. That is jumping the shark. It is. Scientists have revealed that the reason the 3,000-year-old woman appears to be screaming is because she died in agony. Wow. Okay. What a time to be alive. Thank God for these eggheads, right? They've figured it out. All those late nights, all those tests. I mean, like, I'm not a scientist, guys. I'm not. That might shock you. I know. I am not a scientist by any stretch, but I mean, I figured it was either she died in agony. Look at the face. Ah! Either she died in agony, or, other option, somebody forced her to listen to the 100 Patriots podcast. I mean, it could have been either, guys. Anyway, let's go in the live chat, shall we? Should we see what people are saying? LUTD says, I've dated worse. Yeah, I mean, but when you dated the person that did she also look like she was in agony? Was she not? Was she not happy on the date? Is that why this previous date has leapt to the fore of your mind? Oh, do you know who that reminds me of? Do you remember that Sally girl I went out with that time? Dead ringer. Literally dead ringer. Baps McGinty is a new name in the chat. What's up, Baps? Patrick McCarthy says, that mummy is reacting to the Tories. Well, yeah, could be. Could be. Richard Marsden says, God, I wonder what his cum face would be like. And then quickly caveats, I mean the mummy, not Huw Edwards. Important clarification there, Rich. Maybe she was listening to Scream If You Want to Go Faster, says Mojo. Could be. Could be. I mean, 3,000 years ago, I reckon the music was pretty shit. So, could be. So here's a thought, right, that popped in my head the other day. Just, wandering around the house, ignoring my children, shaking with alcohol withdrawal. And if I'm honest, a general nervousness at the state of the world that we inhabit. And I was thinking about conspiracy theories. For obvious reasons, right? We've had the thing about the Stockport guy being a Muslim migrant, which turned out to be false. It was a conspiracy theory website thing, fake newsy thing that spread it, right? Then more recently, we've had the thing about the trans boxer, who isn't actually trans, we've now established, again, fueled by Russian propaganda conspiracy theory sites and Twitter accounts. We often hear about flat earthers, don't we, also, and chemtrails, and what's the other one, like the Jews run the world. You get the idea. Conspiracy theories. And since forever and a day, there's been conspiracy theories, and they're always scary. They're always bad, aren't they? And I found myself thinking, hang on a minute, Aid. Just wait a gosh darn minute for a second. How come there's never any good conspiracy theories, right? There's a real gap in the market there. How come you never hear any good conspiracy theories? Like, how come the Jews never randomly get the credit for fixing the Y2K bug? Like, what? That's kind of believable, isn't it? Are the Illuminati fixated on mass surveillance and control? Are they? Or couldn't we get like a couple of guys in a pub, like where one asks the other, right, instead of mass surveillance and control and Illuminati stuff, like, couldn't we get two guys in a pub and one asks the other, like, oh, when did they fill in all the potholes on Queen Street? I drove down there earlier. It was smooth. When did they fill in all the potholes on Queen Street, Dave? And then Dave turns around and goes like, oh, yeah, it's Illuminati. Why is there never any good conspiracy theories? People in the chat, this is your task for this evening. Over the next, half an hour, 45 minutes, what would your positive conspiracy theory be? If you could table one. If you had the power and influence to get it to catch fire and take flight in the internet ethers. What would your positive conspiracy theory be? Because honestly, guys, right, before the last week took place, I never would have thought it would be as easy as it is, clearly, to get these things to take off. Like, apparently, all you need to do now is share a thing on a clumsily thrown together Russian news site, and bam! Half of fucking Millwall will take it as gospel. Half of Millwall's followers, and the EDL, and this guy, and that guy from Middlesbrough, and all the other places they're doing rallies, half of them will be like, oh my God, this is real. Meanwhile, the rest of us are doing the facial expression of the mummy, like, no! I mean, look, here's my positive conspiracy theory, right? My positive conspiracy that I would like to catch fire, to take flight out into the ethers of the internet, if you'll indulge me. I don't think there's an Illuminati. I don't think Jews control the world. I don't think black guys have the biggest dicks. I know they do. Wait, no, wait, no, that's the what I was gonna say at all. But here's my conspiracy. I do think, like, what if Pakistani men, right? What if Pakistani Muslim men gave the best hugs? What if they did? What if Pakistani Muslim men were just incredible huggers? You know, it's just innate. It's just in there. Based on absolutely nothing. Just conjecture, rumour, anecdotal rubbish. What if Pakistani Muslim men were just incredible huggers? It's just a thing with them, guys. Like, can we start that rumour, please? Can we start that positive conspiracy theory that they are just bizarrely, innately good at hugging? You know, can we start that probably still actually weirdly problematic idea? Like, cause I really want that theory, that rumor, to take off, right? Purely so that then you might see a racist, right, having a bad day, confused, right? But he would be like torn between wanting to take it out on a Muslim guy or trying to decide if actually he could just get a cuddle from him, from one of the best, you know? Like, oh, I'm having a really bad day here. Oh, a family of black people just moved in next to me. Ah, it's got me so angry. So inexplicably randomly angry about these black neighbours of mine. Oh, but do you know what? Akbar, I could really use a hug right now for this gloomiest of Mondays. Come here. You know, just a racist having a bad day. Just wants to feel better. Like, hey, you in the Candora. Over here, come. I could use a cuddle. Come on. It's been a rough day. Thanks. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the ease of spreading nonsense is underpriced now on the left, you know? We spend all of our time, don't we? And our energy, tearing our hair out. Like, why won't these Brexiteers or Trump-drunk Republicans engage on substance? Why won't they engage on the Why can't they listen to experts, etc., etc.? Why can't we get them to see sense? Have they all gone mad? We ask ourselves. And I feel like maybe it's because we've been speaking completely the wrong language this entire time. You know, what if talking stats and calmly talking about trade law isn't that engaging for them? You know, it sounds wild, doesn't it? What if salacious nonsense and fear and conspiracies is the thing that pulls them in? It wins them over. You know, like I was looking at footage of the London riots, right, from 2011 the other day, and also obviously of the unrest in Southport, and it kind of got me thinking. I was like, you know, maybe we should start some rumours that tracksuits make you impotent. Maybe is that one that we could start, or maybe we could say that you know, Oxford University did a study. And it found that women whose husbands are far right are 93% more likely to have cumless fucks indefinitely. Like, it's weird. It's just strange. But they've got the stats. 93%, ladies. Well, they did. I know it sounds unbelievable. But they did a study on it. And they added it all up. The Oxford boffins. You know, the same guys that managed to work out that mystery with that mummy, it's the best minds in the world. They worked on this. 93% less likely to be brought to orgasm if you're in the sack with a St. George cross swanning, stellared out Gary. You make your decision, but I'm just saying, 93%. Apparently it all comes down to, you know, something of a right-wing brains psychologically operating in the interest of the self rather than the greater good. 93%. I'm going to keep Drilling it in, guys. Let's get this to catch fire and take off. 93% less likely to reach orgasm with a right-winger in the made-up study that I just manufactured for this show. Yeah. Do with that as you please. And I know maybe for, a few of you who are just tuning into this for the first time, maybe you enjoy being angry, like you're watching this show because you saw the thing I did on Tommy Robinson earlier in the week, and now you're checking me out to see if I'm actually this obnoxious, and I am. So maybe if that's you're watching this and you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, absolutely not, Aid. No, this is way out of line. How dare you cast aspersions on a whole group of protesters and EDL types? How dare you cast aspersions on our whole group of people based on some ignorant nonsense? How dare you do that to us? But if that is you, if you are thinking like that, if you consciously do think that in response to my made-up study about your sexual ability, could I just ask you just one favour? Okay. Just skip back 20 seconds and listen to that last part again. Listen to it on slow, on half speed. Let it really swirl around in your brain. Casting aspersions on a whole group of people based on some ignorant nonsense. Does it sound familiar to you, Gary? I mean, if anything, like me doing that sort of stuff, like you should be warming to me, I would have thought. If we're in a different time under different stars, we might be best friends. Anyway, I don't want to spend this whole episode talking about conspiracies, right? Because truly, who wants another podcast that's an hour of conspiracy? Like, you already have InfoWars for that. You're covered. But I do think it's interesting, the disinformation that we've seen the last week. About the trans boxer, the most recent one, who isn't actually even trans. I don't know how many of you have been keeping up with this stuff, with the Olympics, the culture war stuff. But yeah, it's been a big week for disinformation. It's been a big week for what ethnicity is the attacker? This is important. What ethnicity is he? People have to know. It's been a big week for, is Kamala black or Indian? What ethnicity is she? Is she really black, though? Asked Donald Trump. It's been a big week for, is she really a female boxer, though? Is she? Or is she trans? Ooh. And I saw the most eye-opening observation on Twitter this morning. Or maybe it was last night. I can't remember now. Where the account, it was a lady, I think, called Monisha Rajesh was credited to. And she was like, there are no trans women competing at the Olympics. Like, none. There are no trans women competing at the Olympics. But there is a man convicted of raping a 12-year-old girl. And it's just so startling, isn't it? The contrast of those two things. All of this hyperbole and anger wanking over a trans boxer that isn't really trans. There are no trans athletes at the Olympics competing, but there is a man convicted of raping a 12-year-old girl. Like, how many of these people, right? How many of them who were frothing and belching over a supposedly trans female boxer that isn't actually trans? They were like, I don't agree with this person competing in the games. These trans. I don't like these trans. Nor the drag queens or anything that I personally deem ungodly, son. How many of these people? How many of them said shit when it was a literal kid fucker, a literal convicted, previously jailed child sex convict? How many of them said anything? Like, did any of them raise their hands and raise an objection whatsoever to the Dutch volleyball child rapist? Or did they give him a pass because he happens to be blonde and Northern European and he looks like he's been on fucking Hitler youth camp or some shit? Like, it's fine. He's fine, guys. He's blonde. Just turn a blind and perfectly blue eye to it. Give him a pass. So, yeah. Slightly masculine, if that's not too problematic to say. Slightly masculine female boxer. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. What is this travesty? Convicted and previously jailed child sex attacker. I mean, I'm surprised the PopCon conference or the Republican National Convention haven't got him on board to pretend that he was taken down by dark forces or some shit. Like, it's going to happen. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it. Like, if Russell Brand and Matt Gaetz can do their spots at the RNC, just gone like 3 weeks ago, if Russell Brand and Matt Gaetz can get on there, this guy has got to be a shoo-in for at least like crowd work, warm-up for the 2025 RNC. I mean, they'll probably paint him a mural, is what they'll do. Or they'll hire Huw Edwards. I don't know, it could be either, really, couldn't it? Or Mr. Beast, perhaps. What else is going on? Should we check in on the live chat? Should we see how we're doing? Christine Cash is in the house. What's up, Christine? How we doing? Richard Marston says, Fatima Whitbread got so much awful abuse back in the day when her life story was so heartbreaking and showed such courage. Yeah, it's like... And things have got worse since then, right? Everyone's got crueler. The echo chambers and the algorithms have influenced and rewarded people's online tone. Like, I was watching something earlier in the week, and it was basically mapping out why people are so hostile and rude and curt and horrible to each other on things like Twitter. And they were like, it's no great mystery. Like, that mummy couldn't compete with the mummy mystery. But basically what it comes down to is, like, you know, if you say, oh, I really like this movie, people will be like, oh, all right, whatever. But if you say, this movie sucked the fucking balls out of blah, 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 then people respond to it. It's more visceral. It's more interesting to people. In the same way that people pick up a newspaper and read the bad news out of fear, out that they're drawn to problems, to problem solve. They're also drawn to negative content. And I don't really know how you fix that problem. Like, that is, unless we're going to seriously, like, restrict social media, which I can't imagine the Free Speech Brigade would be. I mean, we talk about, like, riots, like rallies and riots this week. Imagine if you said, we are going to press regulate Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Like, people would be up in arms. They'd be like, this is state-controlled media censorship. Whatever happened to free speech? So it just would never happen. So I guess, you know, not to employ that nihilism too much that I was talking about earlier. But there really is no hope. There's no way out of it from here. So maybe I should just take advantage of it. Like, what was I saying earlier about the you know, you give up on fighting people with substance and facts and experts, and instead you speak their language, right? You start engaging in calling Republicans weird, and you start engaging in your own positive conspiracy theories, or conspiracy theories in reverse about your enemy, right? I can't even fucking remember what my point was here. Complete brain fart. Sorry, lost my. I slightly what's the word? Slightly distracted there by Christine Cash has just gifted 5 Aid Thompson memberships. I didn't even know you could do that, Christine. How does that work? How does that work? So you allocate a membership, like you can gift people with memberships to the channel. That's incredible. And thank you so much, because Christine is one of the Patreons, and now she's sharing the love. It's really cool, man. Thank you. Who else have we got in the chat here? We have we got any other positive conspiracy theories? Because that's really what I'm looking for, guys. Positive conspiracy theories that we can share, or 180 conspiracy theories that we can attack people with. Baps McGinty says sailing close aid. I don't even know what that was in reference to. Someone else, Paul Muksubine, is saying, is someone blocking my chat? I never really censor free speech and all that. I never really censor or delete things. I'm too busy like ranting at the mic and the camera to bother censoring things or deleting stuff. However, I will accept and acknowledge that Google themselves probably do have some sort of like base level boilerplate moderation in place. So if you start saying horrendous things, it will probably it'll probably flag up, or you might get banned or something. Blue Badger says, how's it going? I'm trying to get my children to bed. Hard to focus here. Yeah, man, I feel you. I actually snuck out of the house into the cabin. I could hear my daughter waking up upstairs, and I tried so hard tonight, because I was like, I didn't get to do a midweek show because it's just been really hectic with work and stuff and things, and it's my son's birthday today, and it was a bit of planning for that. So I didn't do the midweek show, and I wanted to just get out here and prep and make sure that everything was right and really sort of get into the mood for it. And then I heard her wake up, and I did that horrible thing that you do when you're in a relationship, you're parenting together, and you're just like, oh, just gonna tiptoe out there, slightly shut the door behind me, and hopefully they're okay with their mum. Christine Cash says, congratulations, Aid, on the sobriety. Loving the healthier you. On an unrelated note, I think I will make a pecan pie. Good for you, Christine. Yeah, do you know what? I could talk for a minute about jumping off alcohol, if you like, because it's basically been another character in this podcast, hasn't it? Until now, it's been such a core part, and I'm literally staring at cans and cans of beer. I've got a crate of beer right in front of me. I haven't touched, and I'll tell you what it was like after the election night, and then after the Patreon beers. I got back home and I felt so rotten, just all like pickled and horrible. And it had been playing on my mind for a while. I just felt really tired and aggy and irritable and ratty around my kids. And it's like, although we all get a bit ratty and irritable from time to time, especially with those closest to us, because, you know, there's no mystery to anyone anymore. Like when you live with them 24/7, you know, you can be a bit pissy to each other occasionally, and but I just felt like it was spilling through a little bit too much, and I don't want my kids' memories of me when I'm, you know, when from back when they were like 7, well, my son's 8 now, and 3, for me to always be irritable and ratty. So it was a bit of just sort of hitting a wall and just going like, oh, I just can't do this, and feeling hungover and tired and everything, and then a little bit of like, I just like, I don't want my kids to have that chat with me when I'm like 58 and they sit me down in a cafe and they go, well, I mean, you were always really like snappy, or you were always like really irritable. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want that to be their childhood. So I knocked it on the head for a bit. But I've stopped short of saying, like, because people have been saying, is this it then? Are you just giving up? Have you dried out? And I'm like, I honestly don't know. You know, for me, like, the big thing was, like, I very rarely, you know, drank on, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that. I'd go out into London, then I'd have a few beers afterwards. But now it's like, even that feels a little bit boring. So now I've been trying to, like, fill up my time, which is a key thing, like, when you're trying to address an addiction. Sorry, this isn't particularly funny, but I'll go into it as we're on the subject. But it's a key thing with addiction, isn't it? That when you give up on a substance that was previously, like, a really dominant part of your life, you have to find ways of filling that gap. Otherwise, there is a huge risk of, like, regression, of relapsing, which is, you know, I would never profess to be a full-blown addict that had no control over his life or anything like that. It didn't cause me huge issues. But I also feel like if I am bored of it and I do want to make a bit of a positive change, then I've tried to fill up that time. Like, so my London days, like the last couple of weeks, I went to a talk by Shami Chakrabarti, and then I went to a sort of secret event thing this last Wednesday. And it's been really interesting. Like, I've come away feeling stimulated and like G'd up to then make more content, more than, you know, Aggie and eating bad food on a train. Although, you know, full disclosure, I did eat bad food on the train home regardless. So Baps McGinty says self-abuse never fails, Aid. Bit embarrassing in public though. Yeah, well, it's I don't know. I don't really see any value or like capital in like sugarcoating it, or like holding back. Like, I've never really. It's a bit like when people talk about their salaries, like their money, and that's supposed to be an area that you can't venture into, or that you should feel aggrieved if somebody asked you about money. And I've never really shied away from that. Like, if people bring up money at the dinner table, it never really bothers me. I feel like it's weirder to be weird about it, right? And it's sort of the same with this sort of stuff. Like, if I feel like alcohol or alcoholism or something resembling it is causing me issues, whereas maybe other people would hold back a little bit about talking about it, I'm just like, nah, just wear it on my sleeve, just tell you about it, it's fine. Harvey says, I'm currently in the process of quitting drinking and I am 29. The hardest part is the peer pressure, but once you go to a rave sober, it becomes easy. Yeah, do you know what? For me, the last part of it was my London nights and doing the podcast. Like, I always felt kind of twitchy doing the podcast without a beer. Like, I would need to have one to settle the nerves, or to get into the swing of it, or to feel like I could be funny. But now I've sort of conquered that. Like, I don't mind going out, and like, I'm going to see some friends tomorrow in the pub, and I'll just sit there with an orange and lemonade and catch up with people. And I think, do you know what? I think a big part of it is just age. I think if I had tried to give up alcohol when I was like 30, 28, when I still had a really active social life, I think then it would have been infinitely harder. Because honestly, when you're that age and you're just thinking like, how can I get laid? I just want to get laid. I just want to go out and have fun, get laid and see music and blah, blah, blah. You know, to not have alcohol in that thing just seems completely unrealistic. Like, how can I pretend to be confident and interesting and funny unless I have my social beer goggles on to make myself feel like I am actually funny? Poll, evening poll. Paul says, now they're kicking off in Sunderland. What, more riots, is it? More riots or rallies that are styled as rallies, right? I'm trying to think what else I've got to talk to you guys about. I'm slightly under-prepped for this one. But yeah, if you guys have got your conspiracy theories, your positive conspiracy theories, do drop them in. So your buyer's remorse joke was the product of alcoholism. Damn, that was funny. Buyer's remorse. I can't remember. Was that last week? I can't even remember. Do you know what? Like, when I prep and I have a good idea for a joke, I write it down. And I swear to God, I must have like written stuff down, done it on a podcast, and then just deleted the notes and lost like a 20-minute set of stand-up probably at some point. From where, like, and I'll cut things up into like little clips and put them on YouTube after. I'll be like, oh, that was a good bit. That was a good little thing. But back in the day, I would like keep all this stuff ready for a set or like a live show or something, you know, actually in a venue. I suppose I really should try and keep my my hands on it a bit more. LU2D says they need to do something about misinformation and the tossers spreading it, reacting to it. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I talked about earlier on the the paper review this morning. What's up, by the way? If anyone's tuning into this off the back of the alternative paper reviews that I put out every morning, we do one of these like live shows every Friday night. So welcome, if that is you. But yeah, I was talking about the misinformation stuff this morning, and about how weird it is that all of this stuff, this Tommy Robinson stuff, started off the disinformation from Russia saying that it was a Muslim and a migrant, right? And since then, that's been disputed, negated, nuked, whatever you want to call it. That is not the case. He's not Muslim. He's not a migrant. But still, these people are out there protesting, rioting. Enough is enough. Close the borders. Stop the boats. We're worried about our kids. It's like, yeah, we're all worried about our kids. Every day I worry about my children. But I don't understand what this has to do with that. Like, unless, like, this is what I was saying on the paper review this morning, was like, you know, unless you're broadening it out to cover this attacker's particular situation, which is that he's a second generation immigrant, right? His parents are from Rwanda. So if that's the issue, then you should just say that. You should say, close the borders, and we're going to deport all of the second generation people as well. But I really think if you're going to go down that road, you should just literally start up a new EDL, because they're so quick to point out that the EDL hasn't existed for 10 years. Like, that's the misinformation that they're seeking to address. Oh, finally you've cleared it all up for us, Tommy. Thank God you were here. You know, if that's the angle that we're going for, is like second generation people of color, then you should just reconstruct the EDL with a little banner that says, by the way, we're all horrendous racists, because that's basically what you're doing. But yeah, man, it's mad. It's absolutely mad that's how it started, was the disinformation. It has since been disproved, and yet still it persists. The anger persists. The bricks are going against mosques. They're saying enough is enough. Protect our kids from these Muslims over here. And it's insane. Absolutely insane. One angry pagan, is in the house. What's up? He says, I did a rant video this morning about the right wing. Wait, where's that comment gone? Sorry. Has it disappeared? Oh, he's deleted it. I'm sorry. Well, you can rewrite it and then share it again if you like. They found an excuse to be cruel and they acted on it, says LU2D. They want a reason before they do something so they feel righteous and validated. Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? It's like, it's the catalyst to behave how they want to behave. And nothing could have illustrated that more perfectly than the fact that there was, I gather from reports, I don't know this is 100% accurate, but somebody was saying that like one of the relatives of one of the slain girls from that little dance class was literally out there on the street saying like, what are you doing? You're making everything worse. And this hoodlum, this yob, turns around and goes like, you're part of the problem. Like, back to this mourning mother of a dead kid. It's like, you know, they're not here to address any problems. They're literally just here to appeal to some of their friends' lowest base level denominator urges. One angry pagan says, sorry, spelling error. You don't need to worry about that here, man. You're fine. There's plenty of spelling errors. Mostly mine. I mean, have you read my surname? Like, Billy Kershaw says, still got that dark spot on your lens aid. Is that let me just put my finger on it. Is it just there? Because, did I mention this on last week's Friday night show? I thought I had cleared it. I thought I'd cleaned that thing away. I was like, wow, I've actually made it look better. But no, it's still there. When I get a bit more cash, I'll invest in a better camera. I've got my DSLR up here, but there's no battery for it tonight, so I've sacked it off. Mojo says, geez, where's the funny gone? I know, man, I know. Sorry. We started off strong this week. Plenty of jokes in the first half, and now I've gone down quite a sentimental, sort of serious political content thing, haven't I? Anyway, look, it's 8:30. I can stay on for a little bit longer. Shall I stay? I'll tell you what, I'll wrap up the show so I can edit it in a minute and upload it to Patreon, and then I'll stay on for a little bit longer. So thanks very much to everybody for tuning in. This one will go out to Patreons for another 2 days, and then it will go out to Apple, Spotify, and back up on YouTube. If you're not a member of the Patreon, just yet, it does start from £3 a month. It goes up to £5, £7 or something thereabouts, and you get cascading or growing, maturing benefits and meetups and Skype calls should you so wish. That's it for this one. I'll catch up with you all next time. Take care of yourselves, and I'm out. Right, here we go. We'll do a lock-in. Yes, Mojo's like, you're doing a lock-in. There we go. Great minds. Baps says right-wing drinking. Dodgy pixel. Could be. Maybe I'm being hacked by Russia. But they've maxed out all of their funds on Ukraine, and now the worst that they can do to me is give me a little black pixel. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, LU2D says, I made a shirt to celebrate the election. It says, ungrateful bastard voters. And the T in voters is a middle finger drawing a red line. Yeah. Always here for people that make their own T-shirts. I'm, something of a connoisseur in that department. Don't know if that's the right word, but let's just, let's go with it. Welcome, by the way, to everybody who has had a membership gifted to them by the Right and Honourable Christine Cash earlier. It's sort of blown me away a little bit. It's incredible. Oh, gosh. There we go. God, when did I start saying gosh? Have you ever had that? Like, those of you in the chat who are parents, have you ever had this thing like where you start substituting your swear words for like innocent words? So like, if you say fuck, actually you say fudge now. Like, you stump your toe on the door, you're like, oh, fudge. And then, you try to tone it down a bit more, and you won't drop the C-bomb. You'll say chunt. Like, I was talking to this guy at work today, and he's a right chunt. Like, you substitute it when you're talking to your missus or whatever. And then you take it down a level deeper, and instead of saying God, like, because my son goes to a Church of England school, which is not, is that even serious? Do you even call those religious schools? It's like, you want to like shake Henry VIII and go like, you invented a whole religion just so you could get divorced. That's all this is. This isn't a real religion. My son's like, is Jesus or God real? I'm like, not really. In you go. I'm like, okay, sit down, class. Time to pray. He's like, suspicious. My dad says God isn't real. No, don't say that. What the fuck was I talking about? I've completely lost my train of thought again. Something. Oh yes, swear words. Substitute swear words. So like now when I say God, oh God, like when I'm around him, I say gosh. That's where this comes from. Oh gosh. But here's the thing. Let me just drag this back onto the point that I was going to make before I had a brain fart again. I thought quitting drinking was supposed to speed up your brain and make you more on point with this. Where are the synapses you promised me? See, now it's gone again. It's left my head again. Oh yeah, substitute swearing. Sorry. Now it's got to the point like where, you substitute the swear words, and now I just have become, like, there's a bell curve. I've become the sort of person who says gosh. I just say it now. I'm not even substituting it. I'll like knock the pop on the mic. I'll be like, oh gosh, like that. I've become my dad. I've become my grandfather. Basically, I'm gonna start. I've even said jeepers. I said jeepers, non-ironically, in the car the other day with my daughter in the back. A car pulls out in front of me. Normally, I'll go like Jesus Christ. Instead, jeepers. I say jeepers now. That's where this podcast is headed. It starts off with, it's raucous, it's booze, it's punk rock, it's punk politics, right, guys? Friday night, chaos. Let's get together, get pissed, and try to make sense of the senseless. Oh, we were cool. with my people of the booge. Then slowly, the booze takes a hike. The swearing is toned down. Now it's just a family-friendly aid. Sober. Saying things like gosh and jeepers. So yeah, give it another 6 months. I'll be doing Blippy and fucking Mr. Beast content, won't I? Making jokes about which 14-year-old rappers I'd fuck. What? No! That's just too far. You see, Mojo, we got back to the funny shit. Billy says, Jeepers is de rigueur. I don't even know what that means. Mojo says you're appealing to the middle class. Maybe that's it. Subconsciously. You know, maybe I'm thinking if we do move house, which is sort of ish, kind of like we're considering it at the moment. If we do move house and we move to a nice area, there's an all right, passable school there without an imploding concrete roof. We applied to get a place for my son. I don't know why I said just my son, not my daughter. Like she's annoyed me earlier. I'm like, well, we're going to send you to the rough one. You know, but if they Google me, if they search me and, you know, then they see this guy, it's like, yeah, like beering and calling everyone Tories fuck livestock and all that stuff. Maybe they won't accept my son. Maybe it's subconsciously I'm like, well, if you ever want to move to Camberley and get your son into that school, Ed, you better buck your ideas up, son. One angry pagan says, I found myself saying, yeah, bruv, to me brother a few months back as a really weird moment. Have I ever been in a bruv phase? Obviously, I've gone through the mate thing. Yeah, you're right, mate. How you doing? Like, all that stuff. That's pretty natural. Pretty native to me. Dude. I went with a dude phase for a while. Sometimes I still pull out dude. That's okay. But it does feel a little bit sarcastic. Doesn't it? When you're a home counties, superficially middle class, you know, we won't go into the whole, you know, offshoot tangent about the council estates that I was raised on again. Don't worry. I'll save you that. But when you are a home counties superficially middle class type and you come out with dude, like, hey, oh, dude, don't do, like, it's something about it. It's just, you know, so I stopped it. Now it's just, I'm back to mate again. Blue Badger says, you'll be wearing tweed and knitted cardigans by Christmas. Do you know what I could do with a cardigan? I used to have a few cardies. But yeah, haven't fallen back into that. I'm definitely more of a hoodie type of guy now. A couple of woolly jumpers. That's quite middle class, isn't it? A nice woolly jumper. When somebody walks in the pub with a nice woolly jumper, you know, there's connotations of golf clubs. There's connotations of kids called Hugo and Isla, isn't there? You get a feel for men in a good woolly jumper, I think. One angry pagan says, nothing wrong with wool. LU2D says, yes, you have. It's like the first thing I saw you say. What, me? Saying dude? Or mate? Or bruv? Bruv, dude, innit, says Diz. Mojo says, I call people mate, dude, chap, mainly because I can't remember their fucking name. Oh, do you know what? That's a good point to wheel out. Because when you have ADHD or hugely suspected ADHD, apparently this is a symptom. It's like when you're introduced to people, you immediately forget their name. Like, it's just gone. Short-term memory is gone for ADHD people. And I remember I used to have a thing that if I got really desperate and I'd been talking to somebody for like 20 minutes and I couldn't remember their name and it was getting a bit awkward, I would like pull out, this is so fucking cringe, I'd pull out my driving license and just start sort of playing with it, and then I would like make a comment about my driving license so that then they would pull out their driving license and then I would see their name again, which just sounds so pathetic and over the top, but I had it in my arsenal. It was there. I was like, okay, that'll keep me safe the next time. And you know what? It fucking worked. Used that about 2 or 3 times. Christine Cash says, that's fine, Aid. Tonight on Politics Social, this is Christine Cash who gifted the memberships earlier. She says, that's fine, Aid. Tonight on Politics Social, we will always have Wayne King of the Profane. Apparently his internet has been restored. Oh my good God. So we should get all the fucks in perfect clarity, she says. Good stuff. I love Wayne. I enjoy ripping into him occasionally, as he does me. Mojo, I do exactly the same thing. What's that in relation to? Oh, what, like the mate dude, like when you forget people's names, right? Yeah. Mojo says, I don't have an excuse. We all have name tags at work. There's almost like an extra level of like chuntery. Isn't there? Like, if somebody's wearing a name badge and then you bother to consistently ask them their name, like it's a delicious kind of passive aggressiveness, isn't it? If you just constantly went like, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name again, for the 15th time, they're like, oh my God, I'm literally it says Sarah right there, Mojo. Meanwhile, you're in here called Mojo. What? I don't know your real name, Mojo. So, there's an irony there somewhere. So we have King of the Profane, Lord Aid of the Booge. Who else? My sister looked up the symptoms of ADHD to show me I feel somewhat seen. Yeah, do you know what? Here's a little story. When I was first getting to know Super Tansky, what's up, Tan, if you're watching or listening later. When I was getting to know her, and I joined a little WhatsApp chat, and it was her, and it was, I think at that time, John Left of the Countryside was still in it, and a few others. Scott, who also is on Politics Social quite a lot, he was in it, and a few others. And anyway, we were talking, and I happened to mention, I think we were talking about music taste and stuff, and I happened to mention that on Spotify, I have lists after lists after list after list, and what it is I read an interview with Cameron Crowe, the director of Almost Famous, which is a fucking great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. And it was an interview with him about that, and he said that in preparation for making that movie, he said he went back and he listened to all of his old cassette tapes, right? And these cassette tapes were from the 1970s, and I think late 60s or whatever, and he said it would get him in the right frame of mind, but basically the way that he had labelled them was wherever he was living at the time, the apartment that he was renting, what street it was on, he'd labelled it like that, and then it was just like 20 songs that he was listening to at that time. So he's got like this documented music history that is aligned to the areas that he was living, right? And I was like, that's really cool, that's a great idea. So around that time, this is obviously years ago, I was like, I'm going to start doing that on Spotify. So now I mentioned Tan and the others, I was like, I have a list in Spotify, like a different playlist for every single place that I've lived over 15 years. And I said it just helps me, Cameron Crowe-esque. It helps me get back into, like, if ever I want to sort of go back and then listen to the stuff. Anyway, this is a really long way of me saying that I shared this with Tan and everyone, and they were like, have you ever been assessed for ADHD, Aid? I was like, no, I mean, yeah, sometimes I've wondered. And she's just like, because that is the most ADHD thing I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. You keep lists of music, creativity, like put it all together in a cauldron. It's just bubbling up, Aid. It's a cauldron with ADHD on the front of it. So yes, I've never been actually assessed, and certainly not. What's the word when doctors see? This is what I mean. Like my synapses are not diagnosed. That's the word. I've never been diagnosed with it, and certainly never like prescribed anything. But I've self-diagnosed myself. Like I've watched the stuff as we're trying to get my son diagnosed, and I'm like, tick, 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 tick. That's me. Yeah, that's also me. That was me at school. Yeah, like I'm basically there. Dr. Aid has diagnosed himself. What else have we got? I'll take a couple more questions and then or a couple more comments, and then I'll jump off and I'll let you guys get excited about Politics Social, shall I? Which Graham has probably run off now to go and tee all of that stuff up, or have his dinner. Have his dinner, fill up his tummy, get himself powered for another 2 hours of quality content. Creative people are often mental, Aid, says Mojo Sabian. Yes. Yes, I've heard that. It's so I would love to learn more about like psychology of creative people. Like, what is it that makes creative people creative? Why is it that creative people are able to feel things or seemingly feel things in a deeper level? Like, I was talking to my girlfriend, right? It was about 2 or 3 years ago, it must be quite a while ago. I was talking to her about music, and I wasn't even like making a particularly deep point about how much music means to me and how deeply it moves me. I just happened to mention that about half the population get goosebumps when they listen to really emotional music, but the other half of the population cannot do it. They just don't have that in their toolkit. Their brains work a different way. Like, my brother is not creative. I don't think he would, reprimand me for saying that at all. He's never really been creative. But my girlfriend was but he could never appreciate music in the same way that I do. He likes sort of funny music, like, madness. What else is he into? Like Bloodhound Gang, Blink 182, like that sort of. It has to be funny for him to engage in it. Terrorvision. Whereas I'm like, all about the emotion and the movement and the sadness. And anyway, I'm going all over the place here, sorry. But when I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and I mentioned about half the population can get goosebumps, the other half cannot. They just haven't got it in. She was like, what? What, like, do you seriously get, like, what, tingles when you listen to... I was like, yeah. Do you not? She's like, no, not really. And you could tell, like, I knew before she even said it. I was like, I just know. I know that you don't get it in the same way. It's just fascinating, isn't it? That you can have half a country or half the population of any country that just experience music, creativity, art, emotion in a completely different way. It's just, it's like a handicap to me. Like, I can't imagine listening to Good Night and Go by Imogen Heap and not getting tingles all up my spine and some sort of eargasm going on when the layers of strings just all flourish and explode at the. It's just beautiful. It's just so fucking beautiful. Can't imagine living and not having that, God, I've come straight off the funny bus again, haven't I, Mojo? I've gone into sentimentality and emotion. Where is Mojo? Here he is. Creative people are often mental. There we go. Billy says it's the destructive ones I want to know the psychology of. Well, in my experience, that sort of goes hand in hand. Some of the most destructive people I know, or self-destructive people I know, are creative. I don't know how you pair those two things, but there's something there. I would say I'm pretty fucking creative. Like, I always have been, and I'm not patting myself on the back like, oh, look at me, I'm so creative. I just mean, like, I have friends who are creative, and I never get bored of building, creating, expressing, consuming. Like, it's just there. It's never going to go away. It's like a constantly burning fire in my head. But I would say I'm infinitely more self-destructive than like any of them. It's and always have been. I don't really know why or where it comes from. Basically, if it wasn't for my missus, I would be going completely fucking haywire. If I hadn't had children, I'd probably be dead by now. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. Before I met my girlfriend and had kids, I was a fucking state. I really was. Drugged out doesn't cover it. I was a fucking mess. Blue Badger says, I was assessed for ADHD at uni. I was high on design, shapes, awareness, IQ, and speaking, etc. But when it came to other stuff, I was screwed. If I hadn't been assessed, I'd have failed year one. Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of this stuff has come a long way, right? Clearly. I mean, the conversations that we're having with the school and CAMS at the moment would never have happened when I was a kid. I'm 43, and when I was a kid, if you didn't pay attention, or you were distracted, or you talked a lot, or like you were naughty, right? You weren't paying attention. What's wrong with you? You're stupid. And I'm held it together, to make it through school and college and uni. But I was definitely dreamy and distant, I think. Right, guys, I'm going to have to leave it here. I shall leave you be. Thank you so much for staying on for the sort of Q&A lock-in, as Mojo termed it earlier. Really enjoying doing the Friday night live shows with you guys. So if you are also enjoying them, then do tune in next Friday, 7:30. Actually, fucking, I'm not here next Friday, so I'm going to have to pre-record one. I'll pre-record a Friday night show for you, and I'll pop it in. The chat will still be going, so don't worry, but you just won't see it on the screen. It'll just be there on the far right there. So, right, that's it. I got to go. Take care of yourselves. Jump onto Politics Social after this. Wayne's going to be on there. I might be on there for a little bit. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I got to go. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. No, really. No, I'm going.